This is Shabbos Lamed Gimel. We're talking about buses, things that are a base for muksa. We're talking about lamps that are muksa. A lamp that was lit and then it extinguished. Can that be moved on Shabbos? A lamp that is old and it was never lit. Can that be moved on Shabbos? Etc., etc. So the Gemara continues. Rabbi Yasa Salak Gabe Rav Tanchon Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yasa went up to visit Rav Tanchon Bar Chanina. Boy, Merarte Koimai, and he wished to move a lamp that was already extinguished, obviously. Amarle, Rav Tanchon says, in front of us, you can do it. Obviously, we hold, we're machmir, we don't move that were lit on Shabbos, and even though they're extinguished, we don't agree to move them on Shabbos. Rabbi Yosa Galili Salka Kume Yosi ben Chanina. So Rabbi Yosa of Galili, which should not be confused, Rabbi Yosi HaGalili, which was a Tana. This is an Amora that lived about a century later. He went to visit Yosa ben Chanina. By Mivarte, he wished to remove again a lamp that went out on Shabbos. Amarle, he says to him, Man Sharalach, who permitted this for you? Eshkachas. He actually emerges, there are two camps. Rav and Rabbi Yechanan, Elon, the Ashron Chada. Rav and Rabbi Yechanan say that they're also Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Elon, the Shari Chada. So they hold that it's permitted. Rabbi Lazar Bar Chanina, Rabbi Lazar Bar Chanina related this incident. Maisa, there's an incident where they wanted to remove a lamp holder from beneath a lamp on Shabbos. So ma'anot kamei. So who are we dealing with exactly? In Rabbi Meir, if you want to talk about Rabbi Meir, afilu pumo yehayoser. Even to move the lamp holder should be forbidden. In Rabbi Shimon, and as according to Rabbi Shimon, afilu ner yehei mutter. Even if you wanted to move the ner itself, that is mutter according to Rabbi Shimon. Ella kan anon kamina Rabbi Yehuda comes to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda do amar ner maus. He says that it became dirty and repugnant. So pamait einai maos. The lamp holder was not repugnant, and therefore the lamp was repugnant, but the lamp holder was not repugnant. So the question is if you can move the lamp holder or not the lamp. Okay. Tani was taught in the Brisa, Ner Shehu Munach Al Gabe Tavla. If you have a lamp that's resting on a board, Misalik Esa Tavla Vaner Neifel, one way to move the board and let the lamp fall. So what's the obvious question? And what's the obvious answer? 1 second. If it's lit, you're going to extinguish it. And if it's not lit, who do we hold like? Let's see what the Gemara says. Rabbi Yechanan says, Karaiv huzeh love day chiyuv chatos. But you're coming very close to a chiyuv chatos. What's this question? Obviously. If you move forward, it's going to be because of lighting, because it's going to move a little bit, catch some more oxygen, and become lit. If you move it after, because you are extinguishing it. So Shmuel bar Abba Kumi Rav Yasser, he says, no, it was extinguished. We know that it was extinguished, right? Now the question is, Amarle, he says to him, Tonuach daitach. So let your mind be at ease. Okay, fine, let your mind be at ease. Then it's okay. If you ask the question of whether or not you can move a lamp that's already extinguished, that's fine. Don't definitely ask a question if you can move a lamp that's not, because no one will say that you can move it. Well, we're going to see soon. Ma'anan kaminan. So what are we dealing with? In Krab Meir, if it's kontra Meir, afilu tavla tehei asura. Even moving the board should be asur. In Krab Shimon, if it's kontra Rabbi Shimon, afilu ner yehei mutter. Even if moving the lamp should be permitted once it's extinguished again. Ella kan Rabbi Yehuda, again, I quote Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda amar nes mos, ner mos. He says that the ner is repugnant. Tavla einan musa, and the board is not repugnant. So therefore, the question is, can you move the board, not the ner? Tani's on a brisa. Im hisna alav mutter. If he stipulated before Shabbos that he would need to use the lamp, then it is permitted. Obviously, we might be talking about when it's not lit anymore. He said, when the lamp goes out, I want to use this lamp, or he did not light that lamp on Shabbos, so therefore he's stipulating that he wants to use that lamp. then it's mutter. Ma'anan kamein. So what are we dealing with? In Reb Meir, if it's going to Reb Meir, afilu husna olav aser. If you're making a stipulation, it's still aser. In Reb Shemin, if you make a shemin, afilu lo yisna olav mutter. And if you don't make a stipulation, it's still mutter to move it. Elakan anan kamein. And rather, what are we reflecting again? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda, Yehain there Mos, because the nair becomes repugnant. Either became repugnant if talking about one that was lit on Shabbos and then went out, or one that was not lit on Shabbos, but it was used to be lit, and he says, I'm going to use this lamp on Shabbos, but it's repugnant. So then the question is whether or not the stipulation is going to help. Which is interesting, by the way, that to say that something that's repugnant in and of itself is allowed to now become out of its status because the person's already stipulated it. We had the case of the basket. The person turned the basket over and knew that the chicks were going to make it repugnant. And then we had the case with the measuring bowls. So in those, if you stipulate that you want to use those things on Shabbos, so then even if it became repugnant over there, it sounds like if it became repugnant, then you still can't use it. The only reason why you're allowed to use the measuring bowls over there is because apparently you're doing it in a way where you thought it might not become repugnant because you're going to put it in a situation where you only put it there temporarily and then take it away because it's something that's important to you. But now you're going to say, even something that's repugnant, you can then stipulate to now go away from muksos. Now something new. This is a chiddush now in the Gemara, that if something is in and of itself is ma'os, and ma'os is muksa by itself, you can still stipulate, say, I want to use this means a thing, and you still could use it on Shabbos just by stipulation. Ma chamis meimar Rabbi Yehuda anan kamein. So what do you see fit to say when we're dealing with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda? Maybe the Bryce is not talking about Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe Bryce is talking about other people. You keep saying Rabbi Yehuda, fine, but maybe he's talking about other people. How do you know that it's Rabbi Yehuda and not the other people? Because we learned in a Brysa, Ner Shehu Munach Eicher Hadelis, a lamp that rests in the back of a door. It's a sconce that's attached to the back of a door. Pasayach v'nayel b'Shabbos. You could open it and close it on Shabbos. Ubavad shaloi yischaven v'loi lachavois v'loi la'avir. As long as you have in mind not to extinguish it or not to make it get any brighter. Rabbi Shmuel proceeds in Leib Shecheach. Rabbi Shmuel interpreted this. Someone forgot. If he forgot that it was Shabbos, or he forgot that it was a malacha, forgot that the lamp was there, and he moved the door. So he forgot that the lamp was there and moved the door. So then he did not have in mind at all malacha because he forgot that there was a lamp there, or he forgot that it was Shabbos. So he had no intention to extinguish it or make it go. He just wanted to open the door. And he knows on Shabbos he can't do it, but he forgot that it was Shabbos, or he forgot there was a lamp. If he forgot there was a lamp there, obviously not have in mind that he wanted to make it get brighter or make it extinguish. And they wanted to curse those who wanted to say that you're allowed to do it. So Yachris Hashem la'ish asher yasna v'oina. May Hashem eliminate from man who does this any child and descendant of Yaakov. In other words, people who are not going to follow the Torah, so they should fall into that group. Man is called Hamyuchad Isser. Who is the ones that hold that any object that has been designated and ready for Isser remains Isser? So, Loi Rab Meir, isn't it Rab Meir? Right? Therefore, do you have sayings of Rab Meir? So, Hamani Tana, and emerges according to the Brisa, Im Haisna Allah Mutter. If you said it's Mutter, then it can't be Rab Meir. So, therefore, Rab Shemin, it has to be according to Rab Shemin. It's interesting. There's an invitation here by the Carbon Ada, and Chaim Kanievsky says Rabbi Yehuda, but I don't know where they must be talking about, probably from a Bavli or source, because over here all I see is Rabbi Shimon. Aval kais v'kara shashis. If you have a cup, a bowl, or a beaker, and they were lit on Shabbos, you pour oil in them, you put a wick in them, you lit them on Shabbos. Afal pi shechavu aser liga bahem. Even it's written touch them, even if they were extinguished. Now we see there's a special reason for this. Why? Rab Tavi b'shem Rav Chizda. He says Rab Tavi said Rav Chizda. Filu Rabbi Shimon do Amar ta mutter. That even according to Rabbi Shimon, you should say that it's mutter. So Maidahu Hacha, so he agrees over here why. Should ask that it's usher. Why? Because mutter. Because if you say that it's mutter to do it over here, since he wants to use a cup, a bowl, or a beaker, and he realizes, you know what? The light is really taking a long time to go out. I really want to use it. He's going to extinguish the flame, pour it out in some way, and then he's going to try to use it. And because he's going to try to use it on Shabbos, that's going to lead to the malacha of extinguishing the flame, and therefore, even Rabbi Shimon would say that it's usher. Amar Ramana says, Bikad Maisa Havena and Savra and Meimar. So initially we thought that Mapligin Biaisa what is this agreement in respect to an extinguished lamp that Rabbi Shimon permits it? So Bishgargu Jargum al Hapsila, when mice dragged the wick of the lamp and put it on there. Ubafutsa, or when the wick was pressed tightly into the lamp's holder where it holds the flame. Vafilu tema b'shaloi sargu esapsila. Or even if you are saying the Bryce is for a situation where mice did not drag the wick, afilu tema shaloi bafutso, or it's not pressed tightly into the holder of the lamp. So b'sheish v'soich shemin. So you're talking about where there's still oil inside. So when there's still oil inside, so then the lamp can be moved, because it's considered a basis to the oil, and the oil is more important than the lamp. So Rabbi Shimon says that's why you can move it. So Tama and Tanina. So we learned in a Mishnah. Noitel Adam as Baina Even Biyadai, a person who takes his son in his arms, even when there's a stone in the son's arm. The son is carrying a muksa stone, and you pick up your son, that's allowed. The kalkala, the even, or a basket that there's a stone inside it. Since you want the basket, you grab it, even though it has a stone inside it, you're allowed to use it. Or if you have a basket and there's stones and there's food inside it, so that it all becomes subject to the food. The food is more important, and that is mutter to carry in Shabbos. So if you let it carry the entire piece, and we learned before about the wagon, you're moving the wagon, and it happens to be there's coins on the wheel, but the wagon is allowed to be moved, so everything comes subjective to it, or subservient to it. So la havena and amr klum. But we're not really saying anything, right? Because we already knew that Rabbi Shimon would probably allow it. So what are we trying to learn over here? Sharei Rabbi, Rumnos, Heitzel, Mitachas Michel, Base, Rabbi Milea, Gichalim B'Shabbos. Rabbi Ramanis removed a pan that was filled with coals from Rebbe's house on Shabbos. Islach Meimer, Gabi Gichalim, Afutzenheim. So can you say concerning the coals that were pressed tightly in the pan, and therefore the pan became so next to the coals? No, obviously not. The coals are not more important than the pan. And the coals are also are muksa. So he's saying the pan is more important than the coals, and if you can use the pan, but the pan is a buses to muksa, so it doesn't help anything. So ilam b'sheish shemen. So say that it was oil. That oil came close to it. No, you can't say that either, because the oil that was lit, and even though the oil is more important than the pan because it's more expensive, but still it's the muksa because it was lit. So therefore, we have to include that Rabbi Shimon permits moving something even when there's no other excuse of a mutter basis. So Amar Ravu says, I established like this, that kuratim shal basis hayabah, that really there were granules of incense inside the pan. There was unburnt incense that still could be used inside the pan, and that is what made the pan mutter to use, because now the pan is now subservient to the granules of the incense, and therefore that was how it could be used. So therefore we're trying to learn that even according to Shimon, who's been saying you're allowed to move something that was a basis to muksa on Shabbos after the light extinguished or after the muksa went away, but according to these opinions, it has to be so long as there's something mutter still to carry it. So you can't just move a lamp and say that, okay, well, the lamp went out, so now I can move it. There has to be something, a glass, let's say, that holds the oil that's now more important than the lamp, or oil that's left, and that's expensive, and that wasn't burnt. So something that Rabbi Shimon could say, you're moving something with mutter, and therefore now it's a basis to mutter, not just a basis to isser. We learned before that carrying a small lamp that went out is mutter on Shabbos. Now we're going to talk about things that are very heavy, but not necessarily that they were also basis to isser. So it's not exactly a comparison, but the Gemara says now we're talking about heavy objects, and whether that's considered a burden or not. Or if the heavy objects are so heavy that really they just muksa in and of themselves because people just don't move them normally, so if you can't move them on Shabbos because they're by in itself muksa are being heavy. Rabba Barachanina b'Shem Rabbi Yechanan, he says, we cannot move heavy chests on Shabbos. Rabbi Ami mutter. Rabbi Ami says it's mutter. Rabbi Yirmiyah Chami Lai B'Tatlin Lei Gai Zaruba. Rabbi Yirmiyah saw the moving heavy chests in the Great Academy. V'lo have memache biyadon, and he did not reprove them. The Rabbi Yanai Amrin in the Academy of Rabbi Yanai, who said Ad Shloisha Kechise, any ladder that's up to 3 rungs is like a seat. Mikan v'helech kisula, and above that it's like a ladder. And a ladder is muksa on Shabbos, but a seat, a stool, that is allowed to be used on Shabbos and moved. Rav Yosa Rabbi Bun. Rabbi Yosa said, "Name Rabun, Mam Deshari, the one who permits dragging a heavy chest. Rabbi Shimon is like Rabbi Shimon." And we're going to talk about a brisa that's going to go on and continue this subject.